Hello and welcome to the PowerPlay series. I'm Darren Peters, the founder and managing partner of Peter Damon Group, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Camille Moore.
Hi, my name is Camille Moore, and I'm the Director of Policy here at the Peter Damon Group, and we're so excited to have you.
Don Myers is the founder and CEO of The Most, a company using elite engineering and innovative hardware to improve the textured hair experience. Myers is both an advocate for women founders through her role at Bonetta and as a successful founder with her innovative hair care brand. Today, we're going to talk about the world of venture capital funding, the HBCU experience, and any exciting updates Dawn wants to share about her inspiring work. I met Dawn a few years ago when she was helping me start PowerPlay magazine in DC. So thanks so much for joining us today, Dawn.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It is a pleasure. We have known each other for years, and it's just been so nice having you come along on this journey.
All right, so let's get started. I'll start off with the first question. Dawn, you entered the $87 billion industry of hair care when you started The Most. Can you tell us more about your origin story and the innovative, one-of-a-kind, and patent-pending hardware you created?
Yeah, I'll tell you about our tools and our suite of technology first, and then I'll tell you how I got there, because it's been a very winding road. Our products, instead of just making liquid creams or oils or liquid products, we focus on hardware. And we focus on hardware because most manufacturers, right, when you think of the big players in the game who have the money to make new technology, they don't always know what the back end of a wash day looks like, right? They don't understand our pain points with the nuance to be able to innovate solutions for them. I saw that, and I started ideating and built a team of engineers and marketers and technologists to help us bring new technology to market. So this is really important stuff, right? Because what we're doing here is we're trying to write the playbook for other innovators, other inventors, other creative personalities who want to build technology or solutions for their community. We're building the playbook to help underrepresented groups break into this field, which has virtually no women or minorities therein. So that's what we do. And then how we got there is, look, before this, I was working in a firm, very traditional kind of firm life, plus kind of running a real estate portfolio in the evenings and weekends. And I had just no time to do my hair. And so this typically sounds like a beauty issue to most people, but it's really not. This is a quality of life issue. Simple things like being able to wash my scalp, simple things like being able to perform basic hygienic tasks are just out of reach for a lot of women because it takes so long for us to style our hair. People are often surprised that Black women are spending upwards of 3 hours styling their hair. And that's, nothing fancy. That's just taking care, washing, conditioning, and doing the basic things that you need to do to care for your hair. That's a really long time after every workout, before every meeting, before every date. It's really difficult for us to fit our hair into our lives. And so what you find is a lot of women who are struggling to fit in hair care, who are struggling to fit in their kids' hair care, into their busy weeks. And so when we think about innovating in this space, it's not about beauty for me. It's really about making the lives of women with highly textured hair, and Black women in particular, easier.
That is wonderful, Dawn. And speaking of Black hair, I think one place where I learned a lot was my HBCU, Oakwood. And you are a graduate of Howard University. Howard University graduates about 38% of women HBCU graduates who work in venture capital. So we were very curious to know how your HU experience colored your entrepreneurial journey and what made you study at an HBCU.
Yes, well, first I have to say, of the Oakwood graduates that I know, you guys are just phenomenal contributors to society, super smart, super go-getters. So kudos to you. Always great meeting other HBCU grads. But I went to Howard really after having spent most of my academic career in PWIs. And as we know, PWIs can sometimes do a job on us psychologically and otherwise. And so Howard was really an opportunity, yes, for me to get a legal degree, but it was also an opportunity for me to undo a lot of the damage, frankly, that had been done at PWIs. And so, I often say that I was never supposed to be a practicing lawyer. That wasn't my path. I ended up going to Howard. I think whatever forces in the universe guided me there because they knew I needed that 3 years of therapy. It was really an undoing of all of the things that I don't have to tell you or your audience about. So look, Howard's also where I started to embrace my natural hair. I just remember stepping onto Howard's campus and seeing all of these incredible Black women embracing their natural hair, and a lot of them pushing me, cut it off, just do it. And it was this incredibly embracing community. This was probably 15 years ago before, natural hair was really in vogue. And outside of that campus, people would look at me askew. My parents, my friends, my boyfriend all looked at me like, why did you do that? But folks in the HBCU community really embraced that aesthetic and really helped me foster this love of self that embracing my natural hair has brought me. So, going to an HBCU was the best thing that I could have done. And Howard's a big part of the story.
Amazing, amazing. Fortune magazine gave us numbers last year. They said that only 93 Black women secured $1 million or more for funding their businesses. What do you believe needs to change in order to have more women or Black women secure that $1 million capital?
Yes. And look, let's put this thing in perspective. The startup community has been the biggest kind of driver of job growth in the U.S. economy for years now. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars have been injected into the space. And so when we talk about Black women not being able to raise over $1 million, talking about a big problem that shows just how little support underrepresented founders of all shades and genders are receiving, but Black women in particular. So this is a low bar, right? It's in this space, getting just reaching that $1 million threshold it's a big accomplishment. But there's so much above that we're not even able to touch yet. So let's just kind of set that perspective to begin with. $1 million is a really low bar, and we're not even being able to get over there, to get over that hump. In addition to that, I think that there are a lot of factors that contribute. It's not that we're not out here. It's not that our founders aren't as talented. Do not let anyone tell you that it's because our founders aren't good enough or their concepts aren't novel enough, right? Black women are amongst the most creative and the most driven and the most resilient group of entrepreneurs you're ever going to find. And we're out here killing it despite the lack of support that we're getting. But a lot of things have to change in order to make sure that we get the funding we need to grow. One, we need more Black funders. So, I don't know what the statistic is behind Black VC, but there aren't a whole lot of us. And so finding Black VCs is a lot, and growing the number of Black VCs out there increases the probability that person who's sitting on the other side of the table is going to recognize your genius, that they're going to recognize that there's going to be something about you that resonates with them, that they're going to understand the problem that you're solving. And so, there are a lot of, solid things that we can do. We can do more around education in our communities and get more people kind of thinking about VC as a potential career path. But then there are also all of these soft things that we can do within the tech ecosystem right now. A lot of this bias is unconscious, and people don't realize that they're kind of making these decisions to or not to fund founders because of all of these kind of soft criteria, right? Do I understand this person? Does their look resonate with me? Is this person I'd want to go and get a beer with, right? So driving VCs of all colors to make more merit-based decisions on top of lengthening or strengthening rather that pipeline of Black and of color VCs. All of that really contributes to Black women being able to access funding.
Well, let's hope that changes sometime soon or in the near future.
I'll say that, just in the short time that I've been in this space, we've already seen an explosion of interest and efforts to grow the presence of Black people in DC. And so I really do believe that over the next decade or so, we're going to see some big changes.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's so inspiring to kind of hear you talk about your perspective in this space. We do want to pivot to your other project, which is Veneta. Veneta is described as a capital platform designed to unleash the female drive, going beyond funding to launch leaders who deliver unapologetic growth, which is inspiring in and of itself. Can you tell us more about the funding gap and how your organization's ambitious goal of closing that gap is going?
Yeah, so the Veneta Project has just been an incredible driver for growth for women founders, particularly in DC and New York. And quite frankly, the DC chapter of the Veneta Project has just been phenomenal in making sure that female founders have the support, have the network, have the access they need to be able to thrive in this space. So the funding gap, as we know, is really wide for Black women in particular, but it's really bad for women generally. And so what Veneta Project aims to do is heal that gap. And we do that, yes, with funding. We have a couple of pitch competitions that we put on every year, and the winner of those pitch competitions get non-dilutive funding, which is very important, right? Because a lot of women, when we receive funding, we end up getting lower valuations and we end up getting diluted out of a lot of ownership of our company, right? So those non-dilutive prizes are really important for women founders. In addition to that, we're really committed to cultivating a community of support around leading founders in our various ecosystems. So in DC, for example, we have a board of, say, 40 VCs who, for each of our winners, avail themselves their resources, their support, their time to make sure that founder can really grow. And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about going beyond the funding. It's about really making sure that person has a cocoon of support surrounding them.
Yeah.
Wow, it's such a powerful conversation, but I'm gonna change it up a little bit and ask you a question that we ask all of our guests.
Love it.
And that is, if you could make one power play, or in other words, change one thing or solve one problem in your industry, what would it be? And I know you just named a few, but what would that one thing that you would try to solve?
The one thing that I would try to solve would absolutely be funding for women and Black women in particular. But to answer your question, the way that I would solve it, I think that's really kind of the linchpin for me, is for Black women in particular, there's no one problem, right? We've got a lot of problems, a lot of obstacles that we're facing in this space. And, we've been actually talking to some stakeholders in the DC ecosystem about a plan that would eliminate a lot of those barriers and a lot of those obstacles all at once. What we're proposing is a house or dormitory where we can house Black women entrepreneurs. One of the biggest issues for us is that the friends and family round, the notorious friends and family round where most entrepreneurs get their first round of funding, that's pretty much non-existent for most Black entrepreneurs and certainly for Black women entrepreneurs. In addition to that, a lot of people in our community are taking care of folks, whether that's elderly folks, whether that is children, right? We have responsibilities that folks outside of our community usually don't have when they're starting their companies. So we want to do our part to eliminate a lot of those barriers. And that means making sure that founders have comfortable, clean housing that is decorated in a way that is really uplifting something and that encourages innovation. We want to make sure that those founders have stipends, they have funding to support themselves throughout the term of their stay. We want to make sure that they have advisors and mentors at their disposal. We want to make sure that they have simple things like transportation to make sure that they can get back and forth to meetings. We want to make sure that they have clean and healthy food. We want to make sure that they have access to mental health counseling, because this road, whether you're black, white, or purple, is a very difficult, one of the biggest unaddressed issues therein is mental health, and making sure that these founders are staying healthy throughout their growth process. We want to make sure that folks have access to all of the inaccessible pieces of this puzzle, whether that be 3D printers, office space, whatever it is. We want to make sure that we are giving these founders all the pieces of the puzzle that they need to thrive. Now, this concept is at very early stages, but certainly if there are any folks in your network, anyone in your audience who would love to contribute to helping us make this vision a reality, we are more than happy to receive you.
Wow. And
Well,
even
you talk about a lot of serious things, so I hope you're having fun in the process. I know you're traveling around the world, but I hope you're finding time to enjoy life.
I am. You know, I wasn't for a long time, but I made a commitment to myself at the end of 2020 that I had to find a way to restructure things, and I had to find a way to enjoy my life while I build these tools and these solutions for other people. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yes, I love that we're talking about support and sisterhood. I think as you were describing your PowerPlay, I could really see it in my mind what that house would look like and all the resources, especially after a very tough year, as we just said. So unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today. We are wishing you continued success. We are wishing you steadfastness and all the support that we can muster for all of your many different ventures. We want to thank you so much, Dawn, for gracing us with your presence and also with your knowledge. If you could, let our followers know or our viewers know where they can find you on social media.
Sure. You can find my personal handles at Dawn Does the Most on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find our company handles at The Most Curls or the Vinetta Project, VINETTA-PROJECT.
Great. Okay, well, we want to once again thank our guest Don Myers for stopping by the PowerPlay series. And of course, Don, we want to wish you well in all of your endeavors moving forward. You can catch the series on the Peter Damon Group social media platform at Peter Damon Group on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, thank you for joining us. Keep it moving forward.